Okay, so for this morning, going to have our next topic, which is, of course, the kinds of communication. So let's start. Now, this is the table, of course, about communication. In communication, where there you could see there are two kinds. So there's non-verbal and verbal. Under non-verbal, of course, there's audio signals, visual signals, while naman on verbal, there is written, oral. Okay? So what makes them different, or what are their descriptions or definitions of each kind? So let's start first with non-verbal communication. So when we say non-verbal communication, of course, this transmits message without relying on language or speech. So that's non-verbal. So it uses audio signals or visual signals to communicate a message. So that's non-verbal communication. Now, there are different types, of course, under non-verbal communication. So the first one is kinesics. When we say kinesics, of course, this is the language of the body. So body movements and facial expressions add visuals. So when you talk to someone, when there are body movements, there is facial expressions when you talk to someone, meaning it adds meaning to that message that you are sending. Because they said actions speak louder than words. So depends on if your facial expression, with regards to your facial expression, if you deliver something, deliver a message, and your facial expression is, of course, you don't happy or you're just neutral, there is a meaning for that. Okay? And for example, in body movements, we have our online classes. If you're the person, of course, when it comes to group presentations, if you're a person who doesn't want to sit properly or you place the camera, you don't want to place the camera well, so it means you're that person who is lazy, diba? Okay, so that's kinesics. It's the language of the body. Next is proxemics. When we say proxemics, of course, this is the language of space. So distance and space are devices that can also be convey meaning. So as you can see in the illustration on your handouts, on your modules, there is, there is personal space distances. If you're very close with one another, that's the intimate zone. If you're 5 feet apart with your 8 inches to 5 feet apart with the person you're talking, that's, of course, that's your personal zone. If it's 5 to 10 feet, that's the social zone. And of course, the 10 or to 25 feet, that's the public zone. Okay, right now that we are, excuse me, we are experiencing this pandemic. Of course, one of the rules there is in social distancing. What does it mean? It means, of course, you have to talk with one another or have distance with one another so that you will not get infected or you will not get infected or she doesn't have COVID or not. So kailangan there is social distancing. As an example. Next is haptics. This is the language of touch. So this nonverbal communication reveals feelings and sure. If you're familiar with the term mother's touch, okay, so it illustrates how someone can feel the love touching. Pag a person you love or the important you love, they the language of touch or they want to touch you, or there is a meaning for that. A tap on the back, holding each other's hands. So meaning there is a message. There is a message also when it comes to touching. Well, of course, but when you become professional someday, there is such thing as a professional functional touch, which is used to communicate emotions of managers to their members. Okay? Ngayon, we cannot experience right now the language of touch because of course we are trying to our social distancing. We're not forced to shake hands. You know what? A fist bump, okay, or a touch on the other Greek or other instead of handshaking, it's either a fist bump of course or at sa parang elbow to elbow. Okay? Yan yung ngayon yung parang new meetings ngayon or first yeah, it's like so that's the language of touch. Next one is chronemics. Chronemics is the language of time. Okay? This shows, I'm sorry, it's just a typographical error. This shows the interrelatedness of time and communication. One of the most important things in communication is time. Okay? Of course, us Filipinos are known to have Filipino time. So some of us usually arrive 1 hour late, 2 hours late. Okay? So usually this kind of practice, we need to avoid this Filipino time because what if we are working foreigners? Foreigners are not they are very aware of the time. So when your boss or when your supervisor is a foreigner, when he said that you're going to be here at 8:30, so you have to be at 8:30. Okay? Then bawal sa kanila mag 1 hour late or late, so you have time. Okay? What you're going to do of course is to manage your time wisely. If the person says it's 8:30, of course you have to wake up earlier than 8:30. Okay? So chronemics is very important, the language of time. Okay? Next, appearance. So the language of looks or appearance, as the way a person looks reflects on his or her status or position, culture, taste, and the way a person looks. The way a person looks reflects his personality. Okay? For example, most rich people or most rich kids doesn't wear some of the rich kids doesn't wear expensive. Some of them want just want just a plain shirt, shorts, slips. Meaning, this person, even though has the means, already has the riches, he wanted to have a simple life. He wants to be simple. Diba? Don't let yourself mislead the looks. No? Of course, don't judge immediately a person when it comes to this. Okay? What else? Grooming. If the person doesn't smell good, doesn't have a good hygiene, so what does this person mean? And meaning this person is lazy, doesn't want to take a shower or what. So appearances are very important. The physical appearance is very important when it comes to, okay, for example, if you want to defend a thesis, if you want to defend your research papers, of course you have to look formal, right? You need to look formal. You're not allowed, of course, to wear something casual because you're going to defend your thesis. Because when you look formal, of course, when you look formal in your research papers or defending your thesis, which means that you are confident, you look like a professional defending your thesis. So it's very important ang appearance. Okay. Next is artifacts. Artifacts is the language of objects. So artifactual communication is the aesthetic meaning and the of symbols or representations. Okay, so the decoding and decoding is subjective, interpreted with culture in mind in order to establish cautious generalizations, okay, about individuals who adorn themselves with an artifact. So artifacts, the language of objects, meaning objects has, okay, yung mga bagay-bagay, there are some things which has meaning. So you have to that. Okay? And of course, the last one under nonverbal communication is the paralanguage. When we say paralanguage, it refers to various nonverbal cues you can hear in our voice. So under paralanguage, number one is vocal quality. So it refers how pleasant or unpleasant a person sound. Diba? A person with unpleasant voice quality. Some of us, or some of us, or most of us, if I heard that the person's voice quality is very unpleasant. So you have to have the right quality. It depends on the person you are. Next is pitch. In pitch, of course, it's the lowness or the highness of the tone. When are you going to use your high voice? When are you going to use the highness of your or the lowness of depends on the situation. But usually, when everything is formal, of course, you use the lower voice. If both of you, mataas na yung boses, because you are both arguing, kaaway na kayo, hindi magpapatalo yung isa. Kasi yung isa ayaw magpatalo, so mataas at tumataas yung pitch ng boses. Okay? So, ano na tayo? Reverse psychology. Okay? Pag tumataas yung boses mo, huwag mo naman taasan. Okay? Just speak. Don't tolerate that. Okay? Next is tempo. Tempo is how fast or slow someone speaks. When you are talking a seminar, if you're the speaker, a seminar, should have. So, of course, we are expecting that also some of them should pass talkers because they are conscious of the time. But you have to take note that there will be a time that when are you going to go, how fast or how slow? Kasi pag ang tao is very fast in speaking, meaning nang magmadali siya. Sometimes, you cannot understand what they are trying to say. So you have to check your tempo. If a person who is slow, super bagal talaga, meaning he's still constructing. I think, of course, the assumption for that is he is still constructing his ideas. But you have to balance your tempo. Okay? If you're conscious about the time, talking, and you want the person to understand what you are trying to say, so use the normal tempo. Use in a normal tempo. Next, volume. Volume describes the force of the voice or how loud or soft it goes. There are some that we cannot understand for their soft voice, no? There are some barkadas, they have very loud voice. I know you can relate because some of your barkadas have very loud voice. So, you have to you use the normal volume down. You use normal. When are you going to use the loud voice? Of course, when you use the loud voice, or where you're going to use a loud volume or voice. Of course, if your target audiences or if your target receivers are masses, okay? Marami. So, if it's soft and you're talking to the public, how would the public understand? Ba? So, know your voice. Check the words. And next one is juncture. So juncture that breaks or pauses applied at the end of utterances or thoughts. Okay? It's okay to take a break for a while when you talk. Take a break or pause for a while. Take a breath and then you start talking again. Because if you're that person who keeps talking and talking and talking, without taking a break or without any process, pag dire-diretso mo ka magsasalita, di ba mahihirapan ka niyang maghinga? Kasi dire-diretso, tapos sa huli, sasabihin, ko na rin sa, I have done what I have said. So parang ganon. Okay? So, take a pause or usual, to take a pause, you take a break when you talk to someone, when you have seminars or if you speak in public, okay? Want to speak in public, pause. Relax. Relax lang. Huwag ka magmamadali. Okay? Okay, that's under paralanguage. So, in paralanguage, of course, it's a mixture of verbal and non-verbal. Okay? Yes, pwede mo siya mahalo kasi of course you're using your voice. Okay? Way you talk or the way you deliver your voice is non-verbal. Okay? Okay, we'll proceed now to the next. Next, we're going to verbal communication. In verbal communication, we use written or spoken language to transmit information or messages. So it involves sound production, utterance of words, phrases, and sentences through speech. Okay, you're using words and sounds here in verbal communication. Both non-verbal and verbal, you can mix them together to create for that. Okay? Hindi naman lahat ng bagay verbal lang lahat. Kailangan may halo siyang adds mean the message. Now, there are 5 basic features of human language. The first one is phonology. In phonology, it studies the system of sound in language, including how sound is organized and structured to convey. Record is different from record. So, they both have the same word. It has the same word, but the way you say those words may meaning yan. Katulad sa atin, it's like us. We use Google and Google. In Google, yes, that's well known for that's well known sa mga Tagalog. But some, of course, we use Google. Okay, so there's phonetics. Okay, phonology or phonetics. That's phonology, no? Next is semantics. Semantics, it deals with meaning of words, phrases, and sentences in a language. So it explains different connotations, or it explains different connotations and denotations. Semantics is the study of words, phrases, and sentences. Connotation, meaning, when we say connotation, that's associated meaning. Denotations naman, it's dictionary, the dictionary meaning words. So that's semantics. So you have to be careful when you communicate with your terms. When it comes, of course, with the words, with the phrases and sentences you are using. Maybe because There are some words, there are some phrases or sentences that some of the receivers may not interpret it well or may not understand it well. So you use simple words or phrases that would help understand the reading. Okay, so that's semantics. Next is morphology. In morphology, it studies the formation of words. Okay, in morphology, there is two categories in morphology. There is content words and function of words or function words. Okay, in morphology, of course, you have to structure well your words, your ideas. Okay, before you send your message, make sure you have structured or you have carefully structured your words. Next is syntax. Syntax naman is when one studies how words are put together to form grammatically correct sentences in language. Okay, you have to make sure, most especially when you do send communication, when you do writing, you have to make sure that your work or your papers is free from errors. Okay? It's okay to have minimal errors, but it's better to free from errors. There are some applications right now that checks grammar. Grammarly, di ba? One is one of the examples which help you correct your grammar. Grammarly. No? So that's syntax. Next is pragmatics. Pragmatics, it touches on how language is used. So it is how words can be interpreted in various scenarios. Maybe, of course, the receiver has a different interpretation of that word, and you have a different interpretation or touch or pragmatics on that, or on that sentence or that statement. Okay, it depends on how you do it. Okay, to make it everything short, both verbal and non-verbal communication. To avoid barriers to effective communication, you have to follow these features. Why? Because when you follow these features, minimal errors will be free from errors. You will be free from misunderstandings. There will be conflicts, there will be arguments, there will be misinterpretations and misunderstandings. Of course, when it comes to nonverbal, choose the right actions. Think about the actions. Think about the facial expressions before you do that. Know your distance, know your time. Okay? Dress well or look good. Okay? It depends on what is the occasion or what is the activity. No? Kasi importante yan. Sa non-verbal pa lang, pag nakikita na nila, there is, no? You are interested for that. In verbal communication, of course, in order to widen your features on this one, if you don't understand some terms, you read the dictionary or read the dictionary and search for that. When it comes to structures, grammatical structures, you read books on grammars or use Grammarly to correct your sentences.